All right, we're live, so we're going to get rolling. Come on. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, so my goal today is fitness business makeover. So I listened to your comments. Thank you for the couple of you that chimed in with ideas. I tried to fit most of them into this presentation, but the mindset behind this presentation was if I flew into your gym and had to, like, you know, if you follow, like, I don't even think the show still exists, but Marcus Lemonis, where he would go in and, like, revamp a whole business in his little stretch. I was like, what would I want to look at if I was just there for, like, a 2 or 3 day stretch to make over your fitness business, to make it better? So we're going to go through the 5 M's, starting with model, then getting into marketing, memberships and pricing, management, which is your team, and then your money. So we'll go through those 5 M's. Some of you probably have a lot of this already in place, but maybe you get a couple nuggets out of each one. So in regards to choosing your model, I start with that first because I think it's really hard to scale in this business if you don't have a defined model. So many of the challenges that a lot of you I hear facing, I'm of belief that you've not dialed in your model and doubled down on one model. Very few people need more than 2 models. And most of you would actually be better successful with one model, being the best in the world at one model. So there are 4 models I've seen scale in this fitness industry, and only 4. Number 1 is you do one-on-one high-end private training. If you want to scale one-on-one high-end, it needs to be actually high-end, whatever that is for your market. It's not, as we know, it's not scalable if we're just charging kind of market rate, because eventually you run out of time. The second model would be semi-private, 3-to-1, and just so we're not wordsmithing, what I consider to be semi-private when we talk about this today is everybody has their own individualized program, and there are only 3 people in the session. That is typically, we'll get into membership and pricing, but typically you're in the $500 plus per month range. The third model, which as many of you know is my favorite, is the small group model, which is a 4 to 6 to 1 ratio, templated programming, and up to 6 clients. Most of you start with 4. I do think once you get good at it, you can, if you choose to, grow to 6. And then the 4th model is your class model. The biggest mistake with the class model is that a lot of us struggle, and I was there, with your classes are actually small groups, and they will never be profitable. Meaning, you cannot run a class, meaning your pricing and everything is built around a 15 to 20 person capacity, but you have 6 people in it. It's never going to scale. So if you choose to have large group classes in your model, then you really need to average 15 to 20 plus. Like, that needs to be pack it to the gills, get as many people in there. It does not scale. I have not seen a single model scale in that, like, 10 to 12 range where it's small, it's not quite a large group, but it doesn't have the personalization of a small group. A lot of this is not getting caught in the middle of one of these models. And I think that's probably one of the biggest takeaways is if you look ever since, call it 2000, 2001, when the training gym industry really took off, and you watch the people that really scaled in this industry, they did one of these 4. And they did one of those 4 really well. So I recommend that you pick 1 to 2 models, not 3 or 4. Don't try to do all of these. And I'm of belief that you try to become the best in the world at 1. So if your goal is to have several hundred clients, which some of you all have, you all have your ideal business, so however many clients you want, we'll get to that under membership and pricing. But if your goal is to have a couple hundred clients, you probably will need 2 models to support them, right? Maybe it's large group and small group. Maybe it's one-on-one and small group, what have you. But if your goal is like 150 or less, to use a rough rule of thumb, there's no reason why you can't just run one model and be the best in the world at it. And when I say the best in the world at it, I mean you're pouring all of your resources into perfecting that model. You're not scattering yourself around trying to make all these models work. So pick 1 to 2 models, ideally 1. Use the second, if you need to, as an ancillary. But one of the mistakes I see, and I made it in the beginning, is that you got one-on-one, you got semi-private, you got small group, and you got classes. and you're like mediocre at all four. And the marketing is all mixed. You've got a price sheet that's like the Cheesecake Factory, and it does not scale. So just be careful if I were to come in and make over your gym, I would tighten it up to one, maybe two models. Two models if you're in the hundreds of clients goal. If you're 100, 150 or less and more high touch point, you really only need one model. All right, so then your client goal impacts your model choice. What I mean by that is when I chat with you all on the phone, and I say, okay, how many clients do you eventually want to have? And you tell me you want to have 300. You can't do that with just one-on-one. And I would make a strong point that you're a unicorn if you do that with small group, right? But it's doable. You also cannot have a goal of, say, 100 clients, 150 clients, and just do large group training. Because you can, but it's not, in my opinion, depending upon what you want to get out of this for lifestyle, it's not, if you do the math, 100 clients paying 150 bucks a month, that's 15 grand a month. Take out your overhead, I mean, you're making 5 grand a month at best, which you're all better than that, right? So just be cautious, think about your client goal, and make sure that, like your overall client goal, and make sure that matches your model. You can have the Nate Stowe model of 50 clients and all high-end one-on-one or semi-private, that's fine. That's probably never going to scale to several hundred. At the same time, you can't have the goal of several hundred and only do one-on-one or do a large group that is a low price point and only have 150 clients. So just make sure, and I'm happy to help with that in Q&A, just make sure that your model really matches your client goal. So think about your client goal, which ties into the membership and pricing next, and make sure your model matches that. Also, in regards to your model, this is, I believe it was Nicholas that brought up facility layout. I'm of belief that we don't spend enough time on our facility layouts. We find whatever space is available, we throw a bunch of equipment in there, and trust me, I did that when I first started. But at this level, you should really be looking at optimizing your facility to match your model. So what I mean by that is if your model is large group, you probably want a large open space with little to no equipment. If your model is small group, you probably want some version of a pod system, right? So just make sure that when you design your facility, you design it to match your model. If I was only doing one-on-one high-end training, my facility would look completely different, right? As opposed to if I was, let's say I was a Levi and I had 400 clients that were, I know was trying to grow small group, but predominantly they're all a large group right now, right? Totally different facility, wide open, big turf, equipment's all around the perimeter because I need to fit a huge amount of people in the space, as opposed to each person having their own set of equipment in more of a high touch point. So as a rough rule of thumb, some of you have heard me share this, 200 square feet per client. So it used to be 150 square feet I would use. I now use 200 because of post-COVID preferences and just people in general wanting a little more space. That's a rule of thumb. But as you know, if you're in Dave's situation and you're looking at picking a facility, or you're in your facility now and you're wondering what your capacity is, there's many more complicated formulas, but the most basic formula I found is 200 square feet per client. So it's not saying, some of you that are very literal, it's not saying that you literally block off 200 square feet and tape it off. It's just a rule of thumb. So for context, if you have a 1,200 square foot studio, you can probably fit about 6 clients, right?
Is that for any level, large group, small group?
Yeah. You can pull it down a little bit for large group, and you might have to pull it up a little bit, but that's a happy medium. So if you look at some of the franchises, so this is where I try to learn from franchises. The sweet spot in a lot of these franchises now, a lot of them are chasing 2,400 square feet. Why? If you really look at why, it's because most of them at 2,400 square feet divided by 200, you can fit 12 people. So if you're running semi-private, 3 people, now you can run 4 sessions at a time of 3. If you're running large groups 6 to 1, you've got 2 small groups running at the same time. If you're running large group, you either can pack them to the gills at maybe 15, but most of those, if you look at the large group models, most of them need to go a little bit bigger, like 3,000, 3,500, right? So just make sure that your model matches your facility design so that when you look at how many square feet I have, how many clients can I fit per session or per hour, and use that. And then my final comment on facility design would be, I think the retail, we can learn a lot from retail. I try to study the Targets and, if you have I don't know if Home Goods is down here, but like the Home Goods of the world. If you look at it, they have foot traffic patterns that they follow. So they'll literally trace customers and where they walk. And so one of the things that you want to look at with your facility design is from a client perspective, everything from when they walk in the door, are they having to do a lot of footsteps to get to their session? And I'm not talking like it's far away, but like, can you make where they put their stuff more convenient? On the way out, we repositioned our lobby so that as they're leaving, they literally stare at a wall of supplements and protein shakes and all the ready-to-go stuff. Like they stare at it as opposed to having it around the corner. So sometimes your layout, you obviously are working within your confines of your layout. But just pay attention if you're doing retail, if you're doing anything in the lobby, study the foot traffic. If you look at an Apple store, Apple, where's their desk? Where's their checkout desk? It's typically in the back. The reason why they want it in the back is because they want you to walk all the way through the store first, and then touch everything, play with everything, and then go to the back. So for example, many of you that have either seen or been to our gym, we put our lobby's a rectangle. We put our front desk way in the back. Now, way in the back it sounds like a lot, but most of our lobbies aren't that big, right? But in general, like if I have to, it's like probably from Pat to me as far as distance. So we can still conversate. I can still greet you if I'm standing there, but I have to walk past all this stuff to see it. So for retail, and then on the training side, looking at it from a standpoint of if your coaches had paint on their shoes, it's like a double-sided coin. So on a coaching side, if I'm looking at it through a coaching lens, I want coaches, as I've talked about, to paint the floor, right? Like they're constantly walking, they're pacing. I want the whole floor covered in paint. However, from an efficiency standpoint, from a facility design standpoint, I actually want it to be as efficient as possible to reduce that amount of paint. Example being is, let's say in your programming and in your model, you're supersetting, I don't know, a dumbbell bench press with a sled push. How close are those together, right? If I have to walk, and your facility is 3,000 square feet, and I have to walk all the way over there to do a sled push, it doesn't sound like a lot, but over time, as you get multiple sessions, as you get more clients in there, that is time that's not value to the client. Or as a coach, I'm having to leave you to walk across to go get something. So we look at trying to cluster our facility to match our model and to match our programming so that everything can be right there, and it becomes, from a standpoint of accessibility, it becomes quick and easy. So that's your facility design. Some tidbits on how I might make over your facility design. Scheduling, your scheduling system within your model. This is hopefully a no-brainer, but I'm shocked that some people still don't have this. So let's get everybody signed up using an app. You do not need to be scheduling your clients for their sessions. There are hundreds of apps out there at this point, free, paid, what have you. Your clients can sign up on their own, on an app, at their convenience. Jeff was asking me on a call last week about how do you know when a session is, like how do you know when a popular time is, or a time is popular enough to add another time? The non-spreadsheet answer is we have a very clear waitlist process. So I recommend that you have a clear waitlist process if you work with general population especially. Meaning if I have 6 slots, this is mostly relevant for anybody that does small group or semi-private. Obviously one-on-one is not a concern, but for the small group semi-private people in the room, have a clear waitlist process. So for example, if you have 6 slots, allow people to join a waitlist to get into that time. And Mind, Body, Zen Planner, they can all do it, right? The reason why that's important is 2 things. One, people still value, even though we're a training gym and we have people schedule, they still value convenience. So most likely, I don't know about us, I know about us, I can't speak for everybody, but our wait list turns over a lot. So some people might schedule 3 p.m., take themselves out because they got to take their kid to a practice and schedule for 6 p.m. or schedule for the next morning. Now the person on the wait list gets in. So my answer to Jeff's questions is the session comes around and there's still a wait list. If there's still a wait list and people cannot get into that time, that is a red flag for me that we probably need another session at that time. If you don't have a wait list and you have people scheduling on an app, there's no way for you to know. Like, imagine if the 5 of you signed up for a session and we're all at home trying to sign up for that same time. You have no clue. You have no clue the customer's frustration that I can't get into that time slot. But if there's a wait list, now I can see that there are people on the wait list trying to get in. And if somebody takes themselves out, they bump in. And then if okay, crap, 5:30 in the morning, there's still a wait list. Every time, still a wait list. Okay, boom, we need to add another one. So that's the non-calculated way we add sessions.
For like a wait list, if you had 3 people, would you have like also opportunity for, like, if it was like the semi-private and you had max 3 clients in a session, would you also have 3 spots available for a wait list, or keep it to 1 to 2? Okay.
Yep. Because, I mean, it's a unicorn, but sometimes all 3 of those people will take themselves out and pick a different time. Yeah. So yeah, match. Over time, you'll study, like I know for us, with 6 to 1, we typically turn over about half the session, right? And so it's just nature of working with general population, right? And so we have a 4-person wait list. So what you want to avoid is having, a 10-person wait list and somebody's 10th in line and there's like no way in heck they're going to get in, And then the final thing was scheduling.
Doug, real quick on that. Do you guys think about the wait list? Do you have early and late cancel policy, so still 24-hour to reschedule without penalty? Or do you just let it go up to the time of because of the wait list?
Depends on your model, depends on your capacity. What I try to be kind to the consumer and value convenience for them. So, and also looking at I think it's important to look at how your staff are impacted by it. So for us, our staff are working typically either the afternoon or the morning. So for us, we just need a couple hours notice. So we do 2-hour notice. Now, if it's less than that, you lose the session. A lot of people need further. For us, like, it doesn't really change that much. We do a lot of communication that for clients who are on the wait list to understand that, like, it could be last minute that they get in. It's obviously not ideal when you find out an hour before the time slot that you got in. But we don't want a lot of wait lists. The goal is not to have wait lists. The goal is just to have that system in place to watch it. But we just do 2 hours. We used to do 8, and then we're like, does it really matter? Because we'd have the phone ringing and people wanting to, because we told them to call if it was less than 8 hours. Then we're doing all this customer service, and it's just like, screw it, just show up.
It doesn't affect your trainer's coffee,
right? Right. A lot of what I want to get to with the model here too is like, and I talk about it under memberships as well, is a lot of us have created so much admin work that because your systems are, like, in my opinion, like too tight, that like I don't ever need to talk to a client about their schedule. And I have 400 clients. My admin, never. Like, we have like maybe 1 or 2 people that need, because they're like, what's the word I'm looking for? They don't use smartphones. And so we schedule them for the whole month, right? But 2 out of 400. I mean, we're not talking. So we want to try to avoid that. Your admin time should be making you money, not handling customer service requests. This business is not that complicated where you need somebody full-time like the big tech companies do managing customer service. All right, so that's scheduling. Programming, I don't want to dive too deep into this. Most of you I think feel like are pretty solid here. But I would look at your programming cycle. Most of you would benefit from releasing a new programming every month. We found that to be the sweet spot. We've even tested 3 weeks. We've tested 6 weeks. If you work with general population, I recommend changing your program every month. And we do not do 4-week cycles. We do the first of the month. The reason, clients won't remember every 4 weeks, but everybody knows when it's the first of the month. And so we build anticipation and we build excitement to the new program coming. So the whole last week of October, it's get ready for a new program. Here's what we're focusing on. Set some PRs in your October program. It's all about building anticipation and excitement. If they don't know when the program's changing, they tend to just really not get interested in it. So that would be my big takeaway, is that your program changes on the first of the month, because that, more so just from a a retention tool, you can build some good excitement and anticipation for the program. Okay. You see my notes there about when we launched the program. Happy to answer more of that in Q&A. Love having an exercise library with video links for your part-timers. So I always get that question. We have part-timers too. What do you do so they're familiar with the programming? We send it out to them. Everything has video links, and we ask them to highlight any they have questions on. It's not perfect, but it's better than walking into a program blind. If they can make the team meeting, as you'll see here, we cover it in the team meeting. And the final part with the model is making sure that you have with your model, and this is going to depend upon your model. This is where I always, I've been working with Pat for a couple of years on the coaching side, and one of my areas of opportunity is everybody asks, what do I do? Like, what do I do at my gym? And although that's a good answer, and like it could be a specific question, like what do you do for blank? And I appreciate that question. I'm always happy to answer it. However, one of the things I would really work on filtering is, like, that is my system for my model and my staff and my clients. And so if you have less staff, you're probably not going to be able to implement that same system because you don't have as much manpower. If you have a higher touch point model, like your higher end, you probably need more touch points than me. So just making sure that your recognition and accountability system matches your model. Scale it. My large group people, it's workout, workout, workout. Like, I always laughed a couple of years ago. Levi and I were sitting in a mastermind together back when I was in this mastermind. And he's like texting his clients. Like, he's got, if you don't know, he's got like 1,700 unread messages because he texts all his clients. 1,200. But it's like the large group clients, although
1136.
11, see, exactly. I was close. That model, like Levi's a unicorn, right? That model is hard to scale on the accountability side in a personal one-on-one touch point, right? It's hard to scale. If Levi wasn't doing it, it's really hard to scale, right? So scale back. I'm not saying don't have anything for recognition and accountability, but match it to your model. One-on-one, obviously the highest. Small group, real solid recognition and accountability. Large group, unfortunately, it is like 90% about the workout and a couple hoorahs, high fives, right? It's just not scalable to give them that much one-on-one attention. So again, I would be looking at, do you have monthly P-Pros? So many of you know the P-Pro acronym by now. It's personal and positive reach out. That was instilled to my team because I was having them reach out to our clients, and it was not personal and it was not positive. So they kept copying and pasting the same responses, or it was like, hey, Holly, haven't seen you in 2 weeks. Can I schedule a workout for you? And Holly's like, I know I haven't been in 2 weeks. You don't need to tell me that. That's not positive, right? So they were nailing some of the personal, but there was no empathy in reaching out to somebody who hasn't been in. Or there was no like, hey, awesome job, you crushed your deadlift this week, nice job, right? So we really keep that focus positive and personal on the reach outs. I believe everybody, regardless of model, should have a frequent sweaters board. I know most of you have implemented that, but that's an easy one. Get your name up on the chalkboard. If you come at least, some of you do 8, we do 10. I think more than 10 is probably too much of a filter, but that's an easy recognition. And then the final thing I would be looking at in your model for recognition is what do you have in place for celebrating duration of lifetime visits? So this is a big opportunity, and again, depending upon your model. So we were having a meeting as a team about this the other day. Our length of engagement, our average client stays 3 years with us. So what the heck happens at 3 years? They get bored, and they need something else, right? So how do you get them past that? Sure, you got to build excitement to the workout. Most likely, hopefully, if we did our job right, they've already hit a goal or two that they set out 3 years ago. And so how can you build, obviously there's the community facet that you have there, but there's also, how can I build excitement and anticipation of the next milestone? And for a lot of people, it's just like general fitness. They've already maybe hit their weight loss goal. They've already maybe hit some other specific goal they had. They just want to have a regular routine, but they still need something to chase. So we do, whether you do Levi's system with the t-shirts, whether you do chalkboards that have like 250 visits, 500 lifetime visits, 1,000 lifetime visits, something that chases them more about the process, not just whatever their goal is. Because after, as you all know, after a year or two, the goal almost becomes irrelevant. It's just a part about general fitness. Okay? So I would make sure that you have something lifetime implemented. All right, so that's how I would look at your model. I'm going to breeze through marketing because I actually covered this on our Tuesday call, boardroom, so our boardroom call, Zoom call. So if I was looking at your marketing, I would make sure at minimum that you do, and it sounds like a lot, but all of you, from when I talk to you, most of you have this in place. But I would be looking at, do you do the basic 10? So in my eyes, the basic 10 of marketing every month is you have some type of list building activity, 365. You're doing your 3-time-a-week email with super signature. Pro tip on the super signature, a lot of you ask how often do you change it, and you tell me I haven't changed it from like 6 months ago. Change that shit, like yesterday. Like we change ours about every 2 weeks and mess with the order. What was 1 maybe becomes 2 or 3. And we change it about every 2 weeks. And then the other thing is, and I got guilty of this, because of Mr. Rigsby, we got so heavy into the super signature, and we relied on that, we forgot about traditional PSs. So don't be afraid in your emails, especially if you have like a deadline-driven offer you're trying to promote, put on hold the super signature and just have it be a straight PS directly to the one thing that you're pushing. So if you're trying to push hard on one thing, just make that a straight PS. If you're kind of like in an evergreen stage of the month where you got, you could do this, you could do that, that's where the super signature fits. But just a little tip there, don't be afraid to mix up. I feel like we're too heavy on the super signature in the sense of it's good, but change it and don't be afraid to sometimes fit in just a straight PS.
If you're pushing something just directly, do you put it in a PS or you don't just like put it in like an email like front and center?
Well, so yes and yes. So this 3 times a week is just like your value content 3 times a week. I'm not talking like your promotional emails. Yep. We do 2 engagement emails a month, one at the end of the month, asking for clients for the next month, and then 1 mid-month. Just pull it from our resources. I mean, literally the same ones I use. There's probably a whole dock of them. We just cycle through and pull them, and they always get us a couple clients every time. So twice a month. 1 deadline-driven offer every month. If you work with General Pop, I feel like that is a necessary at this point just because of the human nature. So every month we have a deadline-driven. On your back end of your website, have an evergreen offer. Something that we worked hard on, and this is a bit of another pro tip, is to strengthen your evergreen offer to put not so much urgency behind it, but an actual offer. So a lot of times when I go on your websites, and I used to have this, it's just like a free consult. And the free consult is fine, but that's not, it's not going to get a ton of, not that we need a ton, but your version of a ton. It's not catchy enough. So it could be something like, a free trial, 50% off your first month, something that actually has an offer to it as opposed to the free consult is fine. It's just, it's not going to get probably the volume that most of you are looking for. Okay. And then you'll see there, I covered this on Tuesday, a reactivation campaign. Again, we all have the resources available to us. That's just an email drip. Referral campaign. So our best referral campaign is handing out, we have, I think I posted in the group before, I'll post it again if I need to, but we have VIP cards that come with a 30-day VIP pass, and we just literally hand them out like candy and say, do you want to bring a friend? Go to your clients, hand them out to them. But have something for referrals. Your JV or your businesses, I know people are, some are probably doing a lot more than 1 a month, but this is when I talk about management here in a few minutes, when I talk about your admin, this is what I kind of going back to one of my earlier points about like managing customer support versus actually making you business growth activities. Like that's stuff your admin can be doing. So Shelby's question of like, what does this person do? What is this client success, admin, client experience? We all use different words, but they're all the same. What do? Like, they are the ones implementing 90% of this. you might write the content, maybe you want to do the content, but like they can be the one going around town putting up a fishbowl. They can be the one going around town hanging flyers. They can be the one doing that. It doesn't take, a lot of times I feel like we as the owner, you feel like have to do it. I mean, my name's on my business and like 300 out of the 400 clients have never met me. So it's pretty good proof. And I used to have that same belief, but it's pretty good proof that there are other people on your team that are just as capable of doing that, especially if you find the right person. So I want to share something since the last mastermind that we switched that a lot of you implemented, and I want to share that it's working better, and maybe it'll work better for you. So many of you know we did a gift card at point of sale. We gave people a gift card at point of sale. And we started following up with people, and we started seeing a little bit of a drop as far as utilization went. So the gift card was a $250 gift card, which is the equivalent to a month. So pretty good gift card. We switched that about 2 months ago to a 7-day guest pass. Literally got rid of not got rid of it, but put the metal gift card aside. Postcard, so one heck of a lot cheaper for us. 7-day guest pass. And the script at point of sale is, hey, I know this is new and scary. Bring a buddy with you for the next week. Here's a 7-day guest pass. And it is like crushing it compared to the gift card.
That's once they sign up.
At point of sale. Like if you're in my gym right now, sign, here's your welcome bag. In your welcome bag, I go through it. Oh, by the way, here's a 7-day guest pass. Bring a buddy with you for the next week. It's crushing it.
Hey,
What do you recommend when there's capacity issues and things like that?
So I have a rule of thumb that I've learned over the years.
Just make it overcrowded for 1 second.
So here's one of the limited beliefs I had. One of the limited beliefs I had was I got so worried about capacity that I feel like I stalled my business growth for many years. I was like, man, how am I going to fit these people in? Like, oh, I got to stop marketing right now because I can't service them. And maybe you don't need to go this far yet, but I basically am the complete opposite, where it's like, if you want to work with us, we'll figure out a way. Because I believe as operators of this business, we are really good operators. And when you're a really good operator and you're like, a lot of us are learning to get better at marketing, but we're really good operators, right? So leverage that strength. If your strength is in training and running your business and not marketing it, I don't want to slow that pipeline of new people down. I think it's much easier to solve an operational problem than it is a marketing problem. So to answer the question, like if you want to bring a buddy, I mean, you all know this, when you do bring a buddy weeks, the friend shows off 90% of the work anyways. Now this is a little bit different because it's a new person, but it basically becomes like, all right guys, here's what we're going to do. I mean, you're just coaching 2-to-1 instead of 1-to-1. So you can usually solve it.
7-day pass, you kind of frame as like an immediate, like,
Yeah, like
next week type.
Like bring them to your first workout. Yep.
Can you talk about maybe later how you're doing that for like your small group? Because there's like an intake program process for small group to make sure that they can do this stuff. Like how are you doing that for them?
So Greg mentioned a little bit. So Greg had like an 1.5 hour long consult for every new person because he was high touch one-on-one. And then we bolted on small group. And I was like, dude, you can't sit with people for 90 minutes to sell them a $300 membership. Like, it's not scalable. So I got to be careful here. You have to have your own personal philosophy of what you agree is best for clients' safety and training. I will never do anything that's unsafe for them. But I personally believe if you're working with general population and you have decent coaches, that as long as they keep it safe, figure out what they need after. Just get them in the door and get them to smell your facility, talk to people, meet the coaches, get them to experience your gym, and then give them what they need later. So like the whole intake thing, we do a consult with everybody new, but I'm not going to slow that down and be like, well, first you need to meet with us for an hour. Just like show up for the first workout. And most of you, like if I showed up with Shelby at the first workout, be like, all right, you're huge. You're probably not going to do a barbell squat. You have terrible ankle mobility because you wear flip-flops all the time. So let's maybe start you off with some like whatever, right? Like you're good operators. You're not going to like Some of you heard my story last night of the CrossFit gym down the street where someone got paralyzed because they were doing overhead snatch. You're not going to do that. You're not going to hurt somebody. So I'm of the belief that just like get them in, get them to experience it, smell it, meet the people, and then if you're like, oh wow, you can't do anything, pull you aside. But do that after. I'd rather get them in the door and slow them down after than make them jump through 10 hurdles to get in the door. All right. Let's move on to membership and pricing. So that's the third M. The third M is I would look at your membership and pricing. So I tried last night to simplify this. I was like, how can I get them to figure out their pricing in such a simple way? So, because here's the thing, if your pricing is off, it's going to, like, I learned this the hard way. I mean, I still have clients that are paying $99 a month because they joined 10 years ago, and I didn't know what I was doing 10 years ago. And so, and that's like, they've been gradually bumped up from like $59 a month. So like, you know, I get it. But your pricing can like break your business. What I mean break is most of you, when I talk to you and talk to others in IBA, you just need more people. You need more people. And I mean that in clients, but I actually more so mean that in you're doing all the stuff yourself, so you need staff. And guess what? Staff costs money. And your pricing is off, so all of a sudden you're putting more people in, but then you look and you're like, I don't have any money to pay people. And it's because your pricing's off. So you got to get your pricing right for your own benefit to actually make money from this thing, but also so that you have enough payroll dollars to pay people so that you don't have to be the one doing it all. All right, so here's my simple 5 steps to figure out, make sure your pricing's right. So number 1 is dream come true. How many clients do you want? Keep that in the back of your head. And then you can do this on a piece of paper right now if you want. It doesn't take, you don't even need your phone calculator probably. So put that aside, but you need to know that later. How many clients dream come true in your gym? So not like a year from now, but like dream come true. Here's my perfect gym. How many clients? Now, the more important question is how many staff do you need to deliver and service those people? Because that is really going to determine your pricing. And do not underestimate this. Shelby over here just hired, in Maine, an admin for $21 an hour. In Maine. I just hired an admin for $20 an hour. I beat him by $1. Labor is not cheap, as you all know. $20 an hour in New England is like, and forget about LA and all that, right? So think about, okay, do I need an admin? Do I want an admin? And how many trainers do I need to service these people? And add up your payroll. Because that is I tried to look at it from like number of clients and do the math off of that. I actually said, well, wait a minute. If I want your payroll to be 40% of your revenue, I just got to figure out your payroll and times that times 2.5. So figure out, like, perfect gym, how many staff do you have, and what would that cost you? I don't care if it's full-time, part-time. Like, most of you need to pay a trainer at least 20, 25, depending upon your market, $30 an hour. So how many hours of training do you need? Add that up, multiply that. What's that cost per staff? So for example, if you're looking at it and you're like, okay, I need 3 trainers times $5,000 a month, that's $15,000. Then I need $5,000 for me, so that's $20,000. And now I need $3,000 for admin. And I just whip that together. $23,000 would be my all-in, right? So take that, multiply that times 2.5. And that's what you'll see under money, and many of you heard this. I talk about your payroll's 40%. So take your total payroll number that you came up with, multiply that times 2.5. So say you came up with $20,000. Your goal monthly revenue is now 50. If you came up with $5,000 in total payroll, I don't know who that would be, but your goal would be $12,500 a month, right? So take what you think your payroll is going to cost you with all this staff, multiplied times 2.5. That's your monthly goal revenue.
So did you say salary for service staff or overall? Not overpaid, but your full staff, so admin.
Yes.
Not just your direct labor.
Correct. Everybody.
Gotcha.
You're like when you cut your payroll check, how much is it?
Yeah.
Right? Well, hopefully you're not cutting your own payroll check, but when your payroll goes through, how much gets taken out of your account in a month? Right? So multiply that times 2.5. That's your goal monthly revenue. That to me becomes your gold star for how much revenue you need to make in your business. And you'll see down below under the money of the M, that's the 40%. That's why I did 2.5, right? 2.5 is 40%. Now, final thing, divide your goal monthly revenue by your first answer. How many clients do you want? So if you got 50 grand and you wanted 100 clients, you now need your average client to pay $500 a month. So that becomes your ARM, what I refer to as your ARM, average revenue per member. So you got your total monthly, divide that by your dream number of clients, that's your average monthly revenue. You have to know that because that determines your pricing. Many of you are basing your pricing off of like today, and you're like, okay, I'm okay with like $3 grand a month, and I have like this part-time trainer and a full-time, and that's only like $8 grand. And then it's just, the pricing is based off of a model that exists today, that if the model can't scale today, it's not going to scale at that pricing. All right. So then the final thing, if you want to reevaluate your membership and pricing, if I was in your gym and I would look at your membership and pricing, I would take that ARM, so let's say it's $300 a month, and that becomes option number 2 on your membership price sheet. So I recommend that you have 3 to 4 pricing options on your menu, not more. Jeffrey over there last night informed me that in MindBody he has 121 pricing options. Now, Jeffrey runs a much more complicated business than all of us. However, that is still, even at his size, unnecessary, right? So 3 to 4 options on your membership price sheet. I don't recommend less than that. You're probably selling yourself short if you have less than that, less than 3. I do know that there's some people that are just like, here's what it costs per month, or here's my 2 options. I personally like having 3. You can have 4, but no more. 4 would be my limit. All right, so here's what the options look like. Let's start first with actually number 2. Whatever your answer from above was, that's my price for number 2, because that's what most people are going to pick. So I need to base my pricing. Most people are going to pick option 2. That's like your average client. Maybe they come twice a week to your small group. I don't know. Whatever in your model, your average client is. That's your option 2. Your option 1 is your scalable, get them in the door, ideally, not always depending upon the model, but ideally close to infinite capacity. I realize infinite's probably an extreme if you do semi-private only or small group only, but like Levi with small group and large group. 1 is his large group. Like that basically has infinite capacity, basically. Infinite's, again, a bit of an exaggeration, but that would be like, I don't care how many people take that membership. It doesn't really change me, right? Versus 2 and 3, obviously, you know, the more you get of that, it's higher touch point, it's higher service. You're gonna have to at least navigate the people side of it. So option 1 becomes your get them in the door price. So I was working with Greg on this. He has a 24-hour open access that breaks down to what, $17 a week? So he was having a tough time selling his small group, and I don't sell small group. When people ask you how much it costs to go here, say our options start at $17 a week and go up based upon the coaching you need. So for your price sensitive people, they get in 17. If open access is right for them, then he sells them open access. But when he's sitting at the table with them and he learns that their pain points are this, this, and this, and they don't know what to do on their own, well, you can have open access, but I would actually recommend our small group program, and here's what it is. Okay, so your scalable option, number 1. Your answer from above is number 2. Your number 3 is above that. 20%, I found over the years, about 20% will take option 3. So if option 1 is $299, maybe option 3 is $399. So that would be the example of like your most common is 2 times a week, but you know that 20% of the people will sign up for 3 times a week. Okay, so that would be your 3rd option. And then your 4th option, which I actually love having, and I think this is probably underutilized, is like an outrageous kitchen sink membership. Where you're like, I don't even know how I'm going to help this person. Like, I don't even know how I'm going to deliver all this, but it's going to be outrageous. So for us in Maine, that would be like a $9.99 membership. In LA, that would be like a $19.99 membership per month.
Yeah, we have that.
Yeah, but it's a great.
We have 20 people on it.
As I say, you have I think it helps you selling because a couple things happen. One, you will be shocked. 1 out of 100. Most of you meet with 100 people in a year. A couple people a year will take that membership, and you'll be like, okay, cool. How am I gonna do that? But you figure that out, right? And so that might include, nutrition coaching. It's basically take your services and bundle them in a membership, right? But more importantly, why it's important. This is the most important part that people miss. Your prices are, say, $249 and $349 and $399. Most people don't understand from an economic standpoint, that's the same client. It's the same client. If you can afford $249, you can most likely afford $299. You can most likely afford $349. It's just how you sell it. The client that can only afford $99, different economics. The client that can afford $500 plus, different economics. But that $200 to $400 range is basically the same person. So what it allows you to do is to attract a different market that you can attack. But the most important part is if I'm meeting with Rosa, and Rosa sits down, and I say, listen, here is our kitchen sink membership. It's $9.99 a month. It gives you this, this, and this. You don't need that. I recommend this, and it's only $2.99 a month. It's like, holy crap, $700 cheaper. It's all about the framing of it. So I had no intent of selling Rosa that $9.99 membership. She doesn't need it. But I told her that. I pointed it out. It's on my menu. I said, here's this membership. Here's everything it has. It's $9.99 a month. You don't need that. But you need this. And so we've been using that strategy, and I love it because it makes your $2.99s, your $3.99s, it makes those look like bargains. So it'll really improve your close rate there. All right. Final thing on memberships. Auto billing, which most of you I know already do, but I don't want to take that for granted. Auto bill people, whether you do biweekly or monthly. And here's a big one. Check your state laws, my California people, but everybody. Check your state laws. But I would encourage you to auto renew your memberships if it's allowed in your state. I've always been perplexed when somebody's like, I have to chase down all these renewals. I'm like, what? I've never heard of that. Like, what is that? I'm like, I don't know, for like 6 years I paid Pat every month automatically. It's like, it just kept coming, and I was like, okay, And like, I didn't even think I signed anything. Now, obviously this is an extreme, but like in our businesses, sign them and check your state laws, asterisk, check your state laws. But I don't understand why you can't sell people on a 12-month membership, and then in your contract you tell them at the end of 12 months, if you want to stop, no problem, come see me. But if not, it's going to renew. And then, like, somebody's like, I have like 12 renewals I got to call this week and see if they're going to continue. Like, what? Just auto-renew them. 5 years ago, 10 years ago, that might have been kind of like, huh? But nowadays, with everything being like that, that saves, like, your admin should not be doing renewals.
We did that in 2000.
Yeah. Like, to me, that's the norm. So make sure, that's a big one. Make sure that your memberships auto-renew. Have them come to you if they want to stop. Okay? And then final thing on membership and pricing. So I'll say, send me your price sheet. And it's like a Word document. And I'm like, oh my gosh, okay. So let me help you out. Fiverr, I can send you to my local guy in Maine. I'm sure he'll help you because it's digital. We probably have resources. It'll cost you like $20 to get a graphically designed price sheet that has like your logo and maybe like some flashy guarantee and got like your brand colors, and get it laminated and get it big so people can see it. Don't put it on a little postcard or a little 8.5 by 11. Get it big so people can see it. And if I'm sitting at the table, I'm putting it right here and I'm saying, I don't recommend this option, but I recommend this option. It's very clear. It's graphically pleasing. It's not like, oh, let me go pull out my phone and look at my prices, or let me go, make it presentable, because that is like the biggest buying decision that client's going to make with you. And so we want to have it be professional looking. So maybe an opportunity for some of you to have your price sheet designed. All right, The good news is it only changes hopefully maybe once a year. So once you design it, you're good. You change your prices once a year. All right, I'm going to move along here. This might be like an hour and 15, but we'll be all right. Management is the fourth M. So this came from a little bit of Rose's question, and I know we'll hit it in one-on-one as well, but a lot of you at this stage are trying to figure out, how do I manage these people, right? You've scaled to a point where you have staff, and you're like, okay, they're not really doing what they're supposed to be doing, or I don't really know what to have them do. So here are some things that if I was in your gym, I would make sure you have. Number one is, I know it's arguably too big, but I love it, and so I'll share it. The accountability chart, many of you have seen it. For most of you, it's only 3 circles. You, coaches, and admin. 3 circles, 1, 2, 3. But have the circles of the positions in your company. The reason why that's important is because then you create the roles for each of those circles. Not, hey, I just hired this person, what do I have them do? We'll help you with that, but I would rather say, here's this circle, they're a client experience, here's what our client experience role does. And then when I need to hire, I say, here's what our role does. So define your roles in your accountability chart. Your KRAs and KPIs, most of you have seen that doc. I'm happy to share it in the group if you need to see it again, but that is basically your roles and responsibilities of each person. They have to have clear, even more clear than you think, roles and responsibilities. And ideally, you have them move to a KPI model where they understand what their numbers are. So for coaching, as a quick, just toss it out there, we like to measure their utilization rate. I don't know what is good for you in your model. Every model is different. Every gym is different. But if you study their utilization rate, most of the CRMs can pull it real quick. If you understand their utilization rate, that should be going up over time, not down. If it's going down, that means less people are training with them, which means they are getting stale, which means they either need more training or out the door. So we monitor utilization rate weekly. That's probably the biggest for coaching. Admins are very easy. It could be consults booked, retail sales, whatever they own, all that admin stuff is measurable through sales reports and spreadsheets and such. All right, I talked about it 2 meetings ago, or 2 calls ago, but I am a big believer in everybody having a 515 form, the 5 questions, Google form, send it out. They fill it out every Friday. Everybody asks what those questions are. It's whatever you want to hear from them. So I want to hear about their week, I want to hear their KPIs, and I don't want them to spend more than 5 minutes on it. The other thing I would have under management is I would have a weekly team meeting. And some of you are going to say, well, wait, how do I get my part-timers there? You don't. You just have it. And you ask them to show up. If they can make it, great. Try to schedule a time where most people can make it. I realize some part-timers can't make it. I believe in the rhythm of it and not like, crap, we haven't met in a while, let's meet. I believe in every week having a team meeting. And full-time, it's mandatory. Part-time, it's open if you can make it. We send out a recap at the end. We've adopted the 6-week sprints. It used to be 12-week projects. Now it's 6-week sprints. So you want your team to, this is where like the management, if you really do the prep work, it can become like, in my perfect vision, for a lot of you, when I hear your goals, if you create a really good 6-week sprint and host a really good team meeting and read their 515s, those are like the 3 things you need to do for people. Like, build out a 6-week sprint, which for those that don't know is like, here's all the shit we're going to do in the next 6 weeks. Assign it to people. So, hey, I'll take this one, you take this one, yep, you can take that one. Put their initials next to each item. But here's everything we're going to do in the next 6 weeks. Now, an entrepreneur, like all of you, you're going to want to change it 2 weeks in. That's unfair to your team, and don't get mad at them when they get confused why you're changing it. So the prep is in you to say, here's the next 6 weeks. Here's what we're going to do. We need to update our programming. We're going to run this campaign. We're going to whatever it is, right? It could be anything. But here's a Google Doc of all the crap we're going to do these next 6 weeks. And so they're on the same page. You hold a meeting to get them on the same page. Every week you check in with them. You set them free, and they're ready to roll, right? So that helps. If you get a really good 6-week sprint going and a really good team meeting, you can, I don't want to say set it and forget it, because people are never set it and forget it, but you can really kind of let them roll after that, okay? I know Susan brought it up, but we do an annual vision meeting, and we switched to biannually. We used to do quarterly. We switched to biannually, one-on-one with each team member. And that's just like a go out to lunch. We'll talk about it more when you bring it up, but as far as details. But you do want to be connecting with your people outside of the gym. And then I did give you a dump of stuff that we do for continuing ed. So I know that was Rose's question, and I'm sure we'll dig in more, but here's a dump of everything we do. Two things. The team meeting and the 515 is training. So like, how do I get continuing ed? I meet with you. And I say, this is what you're doing really well, and this is what you need to work on, so let's work with you on it. So those in itself are continuing ed. External events, we try to find one a quarter to go to. It's not that like, hey, but you know, we go to Perform Better every year. If there's something at Boyles, Boyles is like an hour and a half from us, so we'll drive down to Boyles. Something in your area, I'm not flying people to California, but something in your area for an event, we'll try to go to external events. The big one nowadays that I think is underutilized is having your team go through an online course and then having them present on that. So we'll have them go through, like On It has some really good stuff, depending upon your philosophy. But pretty much any major education platform has really good online content. The trick there is these systems all tie together. Your team meeting. What do I talk about in my team meeting? Well, if somebody's going through a certification, when that's over, one of the team meetings is going to be them presenting on what they learned. So I don't like having everybody go through a cert because I find that to be a wasted resource. I like to have one, maybe two people go through a cert on the team and then have them present it at the end. Okay? So online courses and certs, in-person events, facility visits. This is a big one.
On the certifications, so I know in your presentation you made a comment about there were certain things that you thought were valuable or not valuable, something you should be willing to pay for,
Yeah.
something you wouldn't.
Yeah.
So what if you were us and you don't have anybody getting pregnant right now, let's say. They're kind of beyond that.
Sure.
But you've got a coach who wants to do pre and postpartum certification.
Yep.
What would you say to that? Would you offer to help with paying for that, or would you?
I would want to know the revenue plan after. Like, are you going to do a pre and postnatal program that's going to create revenue? If you are, then we'll pay for it. If not, then unless you work with a lot of people, which clearly you don't, that are pre and postnatal, if that's not a clientele of yours, then I would either want to have a specialty program where, hey, you're going to go through this cert and then you're going to run a 8-week prenatal program for moms. Great. But if there's no revenue plan, then it's on them.
So a lot more planning before the
Yeah.
commitment on that.
Yep. Facility visits. So it doesn't have to be extreme as like, you know, flying cross country to see a gym. You can do that. We appreciate it. But it honestly, I think you can learn a lot from, we pre-COVID did a ton of this and we're just starting to ramp back up to it. We would literally drop into local competitors and just experience what it feels like to be a client there. Most of them are not training gyms, so they're fine with day passes. And you learn, like if you really study the industry, you learn a lot. You look at what they do crappy, like Levi worked out of the gym down here for 2 days last time and couldn't even find a person that was working there. Like, okay, probably important to have somebody that greets my clients, right? So something like that. But you can, programming, experience. I think there's, in my opinion, a little bit too much of poo-pooing of franchises. They're a franchise for a reason, which means they scaled, which means they're doing something really well. So like my head coach, the one I announced giving now an operating partner, his wife is a client of Orange Theory. It's right next to her work. It's convenient. It's a pain in the butt for her to drive to us, right? So at first I was like, what the heck, man? Your wife doesn't want to work out at her gym? And we get so much, so many ideas from what she tells him. Like, hey, they did this, or this is how the coach did this, or this is how their heart rate monitor was displayed. It's like, Orange Theory is great with we talk about retail front, they're great with that. Like, their facilities pop. So I think you can learn a lot from facility visits. Book club, have everybody on the team read the book. Team meeting, present. This has become more popular, but guest speaker, a virtual guest speaker. So some of you have done this for us. We've done it for a couple of you. Just offer up, somebody has a subject matter expertise. Greg did one for us. And just hop on Zoom for an hour and present to the team. So I forget the technical term, I call it like third-party bias. So let's say that you're all on my team and I'm like, hey, we need to work on this and this and this, and this is what you're doing really well, but we need to work on this. And it doesn't stick. And then Greg comes on and they're like, you need to do this. And it's the same exact thing I said. And they're like, yeah, let's do it. I'm like, I've been saying that for like 2 years. And it's the whole coach mentality, right? Like, parents can't get the kids to eat the vegetables, but coach says eat the vegetables, and eat the vegetables. So we love guest speakers. And then finally, Facebook groups and social media pages. We have a constant list going out to the team. We will tag them in social media. Like, if somebody is putting out good content, we'll always tag our team members in that content. It's very organic. It's not like a requirement. But like, my thought is, if you're scrolling through Instagram and you see something cool, like, I'll just tag my coaches in it. Or, somebody puts out a good piece of content, I'll tag, like, if it's something from sales, I'll tag my admin in it. Something like that, just so they see it. And then finally, a bit underutilized is, hopefully I'm not speaking wrong, but everybody in this group, your team has access to IBA, correct? Correct. So if like your admin should be on like the sales Zoom, like Jeff's director of training is in my small group program. So if you have team members, like, have them sit in on these Zooms, because that is third-party bias, because you've been telling them to do this, but then I come in on Zoom and I talk about this, and they're like, yeah. But you've been telling, I mean, I'm not saying anything different you haven't been saying, it's just coming from somebody else. So get them into the Zooms. And then finally, sorry for the OT, finally is I would evaluate your money. Look at how you're managing your money. And this can be a whole presentation, so I want you to study this. But I presented on this last mastermind. A lot of you have adopted it, which is very cool to see, so thank you for that. But I believe in this business working really well with a 40-30-30 model. So 40% goes towards payroll. Yes, include a manager salary for you in that 40%. Not an owner salary, a manager salary. So if you got hit by a bus today, what would I have to pay somebody to have you do what you do? Most likely, for most of you, you're the manager of your facility, right? So you're probably, call it, I don't know, $500 to $1,000 more a month than your coaches. That's a CPA question as well, depending upon how you're taxed. So 40% goes to payroll, 30% goes to your expenses, i.e. everything else. These are all your other expenses. I recommend, this is a Billy Hofactor topic, so I'm not going to step on his toes, but I recommend what we do is every month, on the 25th of the month, now I say we, you might just do this yourself, but we do this with our leadership team. We have a list of everything we're going to spend the next month. The date that we're going to spend it on and the dollar amount. It's a very simple spreadsheet, literally 2 columns. What the thing is and what the amount is. I then take that number, add 30% to it, and that becomes our sales goal for the month. So it becomes chasing based upon what you're going to spend. And you will be surprised of how aggressive you will get when you actually do this in a calculated fashion. So list out all your, because trust me, a lot of our expenses are fixed, but you all know this, like this month was probably more expensive for you because you came here, right? So just keep that in mind, like every month's gonna have different stuff that pops up. List out your expenses for the next month on the 25th. Add 30% to that, including payroll. Then you add, so you got your 40% for payroll, you got all your other expenses, everything, your reoccurrings, your softwares, you got insurance bill due this month, everything. List it all out, tack on 30%, that's your sales goal for the month. All right, final things. If you are not, many of you are already, but if you are not, I highly recommend reading Profit First. There's also Profit First for micro gyms. Many of you adopted that model, which is awesome to see. I love it. Follow the Profit First model. 2, bookkeeper. They're cheap, a couple $100 a month. Hire one. I believe at this stage, you should not be doing your own books. Hire a bookkeeper. They will save you time and money. My bookkeeper, I actually get more value than my CPA. Because my bookkeeper is in the trenches. He reviews it monthly. And he says, dude, what was that expense for? Or, hey, let's do this. Because he's not a CPA, but he's around that world, so he knows it. Then it gets sent to tax planning and tax preparation. So the other thing that you might consider at this level, I don't want to overcomplicate it, but the other thing you might consider at this level is like now, your CPA should be looking at your books and giving you an estimated tax liability, and see if there are any final things you can do in the year. Again, that's situation dependent. But one thing at this level that you want to kind of move towards, I guess, as a goal would be not just tax preparation at the end of the year, but tax planning. So in September, October, you're like, all right, we're 3/4 of the way through the year. Here's how we're looking, and see where you're sitting. Because there may be strategies, and I'm not a CPA, but there may be strategies that you can implement. But if it's just preparation, the year's over. You can't go back. So I am a big fan of tax planning. And then this I specifically fit in for Levi, but this is for everybody. After 3 to 6 months of expenses, suck every dime out of that business and invest it into something that makes money. This is risk tolerance. So 3 to 6 is a range. Some people are comfortable with 3, some people are comfortable with 6. Some of you have 12, which for my risk tolerance blows my mind, but you do whatever's comfortable. Build up your little kitty for the downturns. Of course, I don't want to run that dry, but I would have a defined dollar amount that I want in my retained earnings account. Once that is there, I recommend, this is just my recommendation, that you suck every penny out of that business and invest it into something that makes money, whether that's you do stocks or real estate or in another business, another location, whatever. But as you all know, I'm no economist, but your money sitting there is not making money, it's losing money. So once you have your little kitty that helps you sleep at night, I suck everything dry because I feel like we will spend more if it's there as opposed to sucking it out.
When you say 3 to 6, are you including all payroll as well? So like if in a downturn, if you didn't have to pay part-time staff, you still...
So let me give you some real numbers. So here's how we think about it, just how we think about it. Not saying you have to think the same way. Our base expenses, like if I run it without any of my benefits, I cut down all my vehicles that I have in there and all my owner perks that are in there, I need about 50 grand a month to run my business, right? Just like bone dry, 50 grand a month. So for me, this is just me, I have 100 grand just sits there. I'm very high risk, so I'm okay with 2 months. But COVID taught me that I don't know about all of you, but I had more cash during COVID because of all the credits and stuff, right? I didn't have to touch that 100 grand. And like Shelby said, you can cut your staff. So what is your bone? I'm not saying you're the only team member, but I wouldn't want to cut staff. This is all your personal risk. So I don't want to give a specific answer, but the filter I run through is how do I sleep at night? I sleep at night in my business because I have 100 grand sitting there. If I need anything, it's there, right? Now 100 grand at my size, that might for some of you be 6 months, right? So scale that to whatever your revenue is, to whatever your expenses are. But 3 to 6 seems to be the sweet spot where people sleep at night. And then finally, I would be doing a monthly evaluation of expenses and a monthly evaluation of your price, or an annual evaluation of your prices. So basically go through what we did for the pricing. I would want to do that exercise every year just to update it. It takes, as you saw, 2 seconds, just to make sure my pricing's on point. And every month looking at expenses. So to recap, if I flew in, I would first dial in your model. Then I would ramp up your marketing with those 10 things. As people are coming in, fix my membership and pricing. Inspect what you expect, which is management. So all those management for your team. And then now you got money flowing, so tighten up that money system. So that is my 5 M's. Hopefully, I know it was vomit, so hopefully it was helpful, but you got the Google Doc for resources. So any other questions on this stuff? I know I'm already over, so sorry.
This was great.
Thank you. Any clarifying questions on this stuff?
Probably separate from that, when you look at financials, I'm thinking more for my situation with Brian Kirsten, how much of the, we talked a little bit, if you have, and probably good for all of us, if you have team members that you want to pay on like a profit distribution, like the business's profitability versus top line.
Yeah.
How do you build your, basically your operating performance versus where you have your owner benefits that are embedded in the business?
So if I heard that right, that's why, so some people might say that 30% profit is too much. Like in the service industry, it's typically you'll see like 15 to 20. I like 30 for that reason, because at 30, some of you saw that I did a 10% to my, Josh has been with me 10 years. I did a phone call with the main gym owner. I don't know if you know him, Hunter. But anyways, he called me after he saw that, and he's like, hey, can I talk to you? And he's like, I want to do this. And I was like, how long has he been there? He's been there a year and a half. Like, I'm like, dude, this dude has been with me 10 years. 10 years. And then we just flushed it out. So don't go jump into that. But I build in 30% for things like that. So really, I'm okay taking 20%, and I have that 10% as kind of buffer. Is that where you're going at?
I think it's more the tactical side. Like, public company have their EBITDA before they get to net income. It's their operational earnings. So for instance, how do we analyze the business? Like you said, the 40% shouldn't be, I mean, if I think about Brian as well, and now Kirsten's out of the business, he doesn't really have a business role per se. So most of their
So he should be coming from the 30%.
Most of their earnings should be dropped to the 30, and then they have things like the phone trade that's going on. So right, just trying to look at how do I, and it can be an offline conversation. But
no, I mean 30%, if you're doing like, I think are you public about revenues with Adapt? Okay. So if Jeff does 100 grand a month in revenue, in theory, I would want to get it where it's cash flowing 30 grand a month, right? 30 grand is going to go towards towards all the base expenses, not payroll. 40% is going to go to your team. But who he's talking about? Brian's the founder. Brian is not a producer in the business. He's an owner. He's receiving owner benefit. That is not included in 40%. 40% is Jeff's role, the manager, and then I would also, if I was in Jeff's shoes, I would want a part of that 30% because he basically runs the company.
That's where the owner's getting it. That's what I was going to ask is if I have a salary, which I do,
Yep.
that's in the 40%. I also take a monthly. It's always the same unless I have a really crappy month.
Yep.
It's always the same. It's my shareholder distribution. That's part of the 30.
Correct.
Because it doesn't come out on my expense report at
Correct.
all. It's just kind of
Correct.
not there.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, your owner benefits is part of, I mean, I call it profit and taxes, but you could call it owner benefit, whatever. It's all the excess, right? Some of you need to save that. This is where it's all situational and dependent. So I can go down a whole rabbit hole, so I apologize. For the last couple of years, prior to COVID, I had 6-figure tax bills. So I needed to save 30% a month, at least a good chunk of it, towards taxes. Since investing in real estate, sound like a guru, since investing in real estate, I have no tax bills anymore because I do what's called the cost segregation study on a new purchase. So I literally have no tax bills this year, 0 tax because of depreciation. I'm not a CPA, talk to your accountant. However, that 30%, I don't need to worry about taxes, right? I don't. Compared to somebody who, like, when I was a high earner pre-COVID but had really no write-offs, I had a big tax bill. So a lot of that is situational dependent. You sell a business, it's all tax strategy, right? So how much of that is like owner benefit versus like if you have, let's say you're sitting here and you're like, oh, that's great, you have 3 to 6 months, but I have like nothing in savings. Well, then I would be working hard to, like I did when I had nothing. I worked hard to get that to 30%, and almost all of that went into the business savings. The key there is I like a separate account that cannot be transferred. And some of you don't like that second word, which is you can transfer it. I like to have to like call, so Kenny Monk Savings Bank, Shelby knows it, local bank, my savings account with that 100 that I talked about, I have to call if I want money out of that. Because I know as human behavior, it's too easy to just be like, yeah, I'll just take 5. Or yeah, I need 5 to cover payroll or whatever. So that's the profit first model where it's all in separate accounts and you can't really touch it. But what that 30% consists of, just think about it as that's your benefit as the owner. If you need more retained earnings, that would go to retained earnings. If you need to pay a tax bill, I would be stashing that away as taxes. If you want to, get rewarded for working your butt off the last 10 years building a business, then you take the money.
That's perfect. Yeah, because my thing is, they're owners of the business. They built it 20 years. You can do whatever you want, but if we're going to measure the business performance, we have to have
Correct.
a way to clean it up.
Correct. So Brian, I know Kirsten's going to be out, and Brian would be a part of that 30%.
Yeah.
And then you would be,
business, but not to do more.
like if I was running Adapt, what I would do is I would run the pro forma off of 40% goes to your staff, 30% goes to expenses. Brian would get 10, you would get 10, and I'd save 10 for reserves.
Yeah.
That's the simplest way to skin the cat. I know he probably won't agree to that, but